Hey there, welcome to Board Game Barrister, our local game shop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm Andy, and I'm here with Ian, Elizabeth, and Gordon, and today we're talking A Message from the Stars, a really cool cooperative game where one player at the table is going to play as an alien. They're going to be passing messages to the rest of us, the scientists, and we'll have to try to figure out what those messages mean. Let's get into it. Welcome to A Message from the Stars from All Play. In this game, we're going to pass messages back and forth between one alien player and the rest of us who are scientist players. But it's a fully cooperative game, so everybody's working together toward one goal, and that goal is to understand each other. We'll start the game by picking messages that each side is trying to transmit to the other one. So this is one of the scientist messages. They're trying to say, we seek your advice in blank, our blank, blank. And we're gonna fill in the blanks we're transmitting using a die. So we're gonna roll the die 3 times, and it's gonna tell us which of those 6 words we should note down. That will be the message we're trying to send. So if we rolled a 1, 5, and 5, our message would be, we seek your advice in eliminating our inferior transportation. Now that message is of course secret from the alien player. They're going to have their own secret message that they roll for themselves, and in this case it's, we admire your architecture, in particular your gymnasiums which distribute food. And over the course of the game, that alien's going to be giving the scientists clues that will help them guess those 3 keywords, and vice versa, the scientists will do the same and try to give clues that will help the alien guess their 3 words. And to finish setup, the alien's going to prepare this screen they'll be playing behind. The screen has 6 windows for different letters to be installed in, and those letters will be kept secret from the scientists. To do this, the alien's going to draw random letter cards off the top of our deck one at a time, and for each one they draw, they're going to find the first position in their screen that matches its color and slot it in there. So I have a black uncommon Y here, and the first slot from left to right that can use an uncommon card is this one here. We're gonna slot this in right here. The other rule for this is that you can have at most 1 red card in your entire screen, so if I draw another red, I'll discard it. I've already got a red here. Any other cards you can't use also get discarded. Alright, with all those letters secretly installed behind the alien player's screen, we're ready to get started. The course of play in this game is that the alien player is going to be giving clue words and the value of that word to the scientists. The scientists will then send back their own words to get evaluated from the alien, and the alien will tell them the value of those words. And knowing that value is going to help us decode our cipher. But keep in mind that the words being sent also need to help the other team figure out what your key words are from your original message. So our cipher has 3 parts. Those are called trust, amplify, and suspicion. Our 3 trust letters are all worth a value of 1. So the first thing we're going to do every time we assess a new word is look and see how many of those trust letters are present and how many times. My trust letters in this case are E, Y, and W, and my example word here, game, has exactly 1 instance of the letter E, neither of the others. So I've got a value of 1. Next, we move on to amplify. Amplify multiplies any value we've got from the trust by 2, and that's times 2 for each instance of an amplify letter in our word. Game has neither of those amplify letters, so we're not going to do any multiplying in this case. And lastly, as long as your suspicion letter is present anywhere in your word any number of times, we're going to make that entire value negative. So once we're all set, the alien player's behind their screen with their cipher and they're ready to get us started, they're going to write down a word and its value and pass it out over that screen to the scientists. And our scientists are all going to be working on their own console that looks like this to help them decode that cipher. There's a lot you can learn from the value of the words that gets passed to you. Like for instance, anytime you see an odd number, like my -1 here, that means you know there's no amplify letters in that word, because once you multiply something by 2, it has to be an even number. So we can immediately eliminate all of the letters in the word game because we have an odd value here. And also, the only way for a word to come across as a negative value is to have that suspicion letter somewhere present in that word. But we know that the suspicion letter can only be G, A, M, or E. Lastly, even though this is a negative number, we know that we had to get to a value of 1 in order for it to be negated, otherwise the value would just be 0. So 1 and only one of these 4 letters has to be a trust letter. Now there's going to be plenty of logic and eliminations based on future clues we learn and the values we get back from the alien in the future, but before we get to any of that, now the scientists have to think of a word to pass back to the alien. So maybe we want to see what the value of the word vehicular is. And I wrote vehicular because I feel like it's going to help lead the alien toward that 3rd keyword, transportation, that they're going to need to guess at the end of the game. So once I've written that word, I don't write a value down, I hand it back to the alien and they'll give the value back to us. Using that same cipher, the alien's going to figure figure out the value of this one. And when the scientists get this card back, that simple little 1 there may look like it's not giving a lot of information away, but this is actually an enormous amount of information given all at once. And that's the shape of play in this game. We're going to pass a total of 4 cards from the alien to the scientists, and then a total of 4 cards back from the scientists to the alien in alternating order. You want those clue cards to serve those 2 purposes, both to help decode the cipher and to help the other side figure out what your final message is. And the first thing we'll do at the end of the game is that the scientists will show the alien their message card, but without any marks on it, of course. The alien is going to review all of the available message options in each of those columns, and based on the clues they were given, they're going to guess which 3 of those words were the ones to be transmitted in that message. After that, the alien's going to do the same and show the scientists all of their potential messages for them to guess among. And finally, the scientists will present the alien with their final answers for what they think the letters behind that screen in the cipher are. For each correct word guessed among the messages, and for each correct letter guessed in the cipher, we get 1 point, which means that a perfect score is 12 points. 6 from the letters here, and 6 from the words in those 2 messages. Alright, so I brought a message from the stars to the table today because I really like everything that goes into this game. It's a really cool word logic game. There's some clue giving in the words there. There's actually like logic puzzles as far as eliminating what letters could possibly be representing what values in the cipher. Really cool stuff like that. And I've played it with 4 players today and with 5 players previously, and I loved it both times at those player counts, and I think I would also really love it at 2 and 3 players, which means that I really like it when you keep the group of scientists relatively small. Having that smaller group means that it's really condensed choices being made between a small group of scientists, which feels great to me. You can play this game in teams, and I would suggest that you do that if you have 6 to 8 players at the table who are really engaged in doing all the logic puzzles, coming up with cool words, and everybody wants to play, but it is a game where you could easily lose somebody along the way who's just not as engaged with everybody else, so take caution when you choose to play the team variant of it, but definitely I wouldn't play this game with 6 to 8 players in its standard non-team mode.
One of the concerns that we had, and I was nominated to be the alien, I think because people thought I would just do all the mathy part and tell people what to do, but I think if you have someone who is doing that and someone else who is then generating the words, and so the mathy person is saying, okay, I need a word that has these letters in it, and then the word person is saying, oh, great, here I've got this clue that's on point to the category. I think that could be really good. All of which is to say that I think this is really doing something very special, but particular.
This game involves like 3 major skill sets. So at first glance, you have letter, process of deduction, the kind of like you would see in a Wordle puzzle, which is very on the face, like, okay, we're going to narrow these letters down, we're going to figure out what the letters are. But you also need to have like the Scrabble skills of, I need to use these letters, I now need to build a word that uses this, this, and this, and the more I use of this letter and the less I use of that letter, the more it's going to tell us. So that's your word person. But the third component, which is the one that's hardest for me, is your math component, because each of these letters is representative of a number. So when you're getting the cipher from the alien, you're getting a numeric value, and someone has to think backwards and figure out, well, what are the possibilities? What could that be worth? Which letter could be worth that? And having people on the team who can cooperatively contribute, oh, I'll do the Scrabble Wordle part, and I'll give you guys a whole bunch. You just tell me the math, and I'll tell you the word. That'll work great.
I figured out 1 letter. I'm happy.
I really hope that I spelled
I'm writing
this
right
to me.
Does it look right to you?
I've decided.
All right,
that
we're
this
gonna go
goes
with
I'm
Kumquat.
crossing it off here.
Okay. All right.
What?
All right. I hope this is helping me figure out your message. That's all I can say.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
0!
Oh. So no trust. We can cross all those out of trust.
That's correct. That's big.
Huge.
Zeros are enormous in there.
For me, this game was spot on. Like, you have to have a team of scientists who are all uniquely placed to kind of enjoy different parts of the logic puzzle that you're engaging with, as you would need in real life, a team of scientists of varying degrees of skill sets. So I think it really nails the theming that it's going for, and I think that the Gordon being the alien was I think great for us, because I think that sometimes you have players who jump into that like, all right, I want to walk through my entire thought process with everything I'm saying. And for me, I would just check out, because I mean, I don't care like what the thought process is, like I want to just do the cool logic part that I like.
I have a
which
theory,
is,
let's test it.
oh, they gave me a new word, let me math it out. Okay,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
would this be that plus this plus that, right? So I think that having the, again, eclectic assortment of people that want to play and do a thinky word math game, I mean, it's got all kinds of cool things that you want in it, for that varying group of people.
So we're talking a lot about a lot of stuff going on this table. There's a lot of elements in this game. There's a lot of logic. There's a lot of like figuring stuff out in math and giving clues that are correct, but we'll also do the logic part right. And somehow it is not a super convoluted game. This could have easily become a super convoluted game, but for somehow after 10 minutes of reading through the surprisingly short rulebook, you're off to the races and you're just trying to think of really cool clues that satisfy this stuff in front of you. And a big part of why that is so straightforward and streamlined in a really nice way is the components they've given you. The alien screen itself is just a really cool tool with tips and everything right inside of it, and they give you little notepads and stuff that we were using constantly to be showing each other possible words, because you don't want to say all of your clues out loud that the alien can hear 12 clues when they should really have just heard the one. So being able to write them down and show each other was huge for us this time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the game, you're involved and you're immersed, but man, it's easy. This is an easy game to learn and play once you see what's happening.
Well, and I mean, they just nailed it with the theme too. Like it felt like we were literally like scientists trying to come up with cool ways to communicate with this thing that didn't know what to say. And like the color coding on the boards, like the letters themselves are color coded.
Yeah.
The spots are color coded with how many can be in each one of the spots, and it tells you in the programming part of it here what can be where and how much they're worth. So when you're doing the math, you do it in the progressive order that you need to do it in. Like the way that they laid it all out was just.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, I think that does it for A Message from the Stars. Thanks so much for joining us. We had a really good time with this one. We hope you had fun watching, and as always, you can hit that like, leave a comment if you got one, subscribe to see new videos from us every week when we post those, and check out our online store where we do have A Message from the Stars. We appreciate you joining us this week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.